Darci's Corner. It's December 12th, 2020. We're almost at the end of a pandemic. I'm in Canada, and in theory, we're getting vaccines next week. But there won't be any for me because there's only like 4,000 coming to my area, and I'm not a healthcare worker, so. But that's fine. We're getting vaccines. The pandemic's coming to an end. I have a job. My body's coming along. And in part, I'm using the YouTube and my corner to mark my progress, right? Like, if you look at my earlier videos, these were not here then. My fingernails were painted, but, and my hair has come a long way. I think it's still a little frizzy, but it's better than it was. I hope I'm doing better with the voice, but it's hard to tell. I have to really put effort into being her voice, and this isn't even really very feminine, but it's certainly better than, you know, when I go like this and I'm talking like that and I sound like Bubba. So, I do think that my voice is making some progress. It's just keeping it consistently there is difficult. Anyway, the thought that's been percolating in my head at the moment has me angry, but hopefully we can do something constructive with this, right? And the world is, by the way, I'm not the only person who's angry about this and wants to see it change, and the world is changing, and I'm so glad that it is. But I was remembering being 10, right? And that was a really hard year for me, because that was the year I decided to to hide and not allow myself to be seen, because I knew it wasn't socially acceptable for me to be a girl and have a penis, but I did have one, and yet I wanted to play the girl games and I wanted to do the girl things, but I knew, or I suspected rather, I shouldn't say I knew, but 10-year-old me kind of thought I had to hide at that point. And I thought I was making a choice. I thought I had a choice to be him or her. But that wasn't really the choice that I had. I was always her. The choice I had was to hide or not. But I can forgive myself for not knowing the difference, because I was 10. And what really bothers me today, and I worry about this today, is, are we teaching our 10-year-olds what cisgender and transgender mean? I'm reading a post on Reddit right now from a person who's saying, is it normal for a cisgendered guy to be thinking these different things? And he's like, I'm looking at this beautiful woman and I'm thinking I want to be her. It is perfectly normal for people to look at a beautiful model or person that's been put on display and think, I want to be that person. That's Hollywood is built off that. The fashion industry, the perfume industry, all these things are built off of, I want to be that person. So it is perfectly normal. But it's also very much if that person that you want to be is the opposite gender of you, then you were transgender, which is perfectly normal. And that should have been told to me when I was 10. Because that was when I decided to hide it. And because nobody told me it was okay to be both, or to be the other one. Because that was the 90s, you understand? And it wasn't okay in society to be both in the 90s. And through much of the world today, it's not okay to be both, including first world nations like Canada, where we are trying to catch up and be more accommodating to people like me. But the thing is, if I could have been given the option at 10, if I could have expressed that at 10, I would have. Like, if it would have been safe for me to tell my mom or my dad, I'm a girl sometimes. I want to paint my nails. I want to put on makeup. I'd like to have ponies or whatever the frick the chick thing was that I liked. And I didn't like every girl thing, but not every girl does. I don't like every, when I was trying to be masculine, I didn't like every boy thing either. And for the record, I'm non-binary. I didn't mind or hate many of the masculine things that I did or was a part of. I was happy to go to Cubs and not brownies. But if I could have been a brownie, maybe I would have liked that. I don't know. Every kid wants acceptance. Every kid wants to know that he or she is okay just the way they are. Mr. Rogers understood that. And he put that in a message every day. You're good just the way you are. There's no one else in the whole world like you. And you can be you. And you are lovable just because you're you. What's wrong with that message? There's nothing wrong with that message, but nobody applied that to me as a little child, telling me it was okay to be trans. And they didn't explain the difference to us, but they could have. See, in the 5th grade, I was 10 years old, and they marched us to 2 different rooms to explain to us what wet dreams were and what puberty was. And honestly, at that age, I'd already kind of started to figure these things out a little bit just from like life. Like, I'd been getting erections for sure since I was 9. I remember that. Thinking, why does that happen? Because this is back in the 80s. We didn't have references for this stuff. Like, we had Playboy magazines and stuff, but those were naughty and we're not supposed to look at that. So there was no real education source to explain to us how our bodies were working or why they did what they did. And certainly nobody ever explained to me, and it's, the thing is, even if we're 1% of the population, that means we're 1 in 100 kids. Well, there was 300 kids in my school, so there was 2 others there at the same time I was there that were just like me. Maybe they were male to female or female to male, but it doesn't matter. They were there. And they deserved to hear, you are normal. This is how transgender children think. And if you know somebody who thinks this way because they're transgender, that's okay. They're fine. They're not better or worse than anybody else. They'll make mistakes. They'll say and do stupid things. Sometimes, life works the way you want, and sometimes it doesn't. But really, they're no different than anybody else. And they shouldn't be treated any different than anybody else. I mean, they should be treated different in that because they're 1 in 100, they are different from the other 99. But that's okay. Like, it's not a bad thing. I'm dyslexic. Because I'm dyslexic, I'm different from the other kids. Also ADHD. There's nothing wrong with different. Different is not bad. But once you know what it is, once you understand, now you can make intelligent choices about what you want to do with your life. And I was not given those options as a child, but I could have been. They could have told me, and then I could have told other people. The way children are finding out about it now is they go online, they find a forum about trans people, they go, hey, I recognize that. That's stupid because it's random and it's not supportive and it's not... This should be done by professionals, or there should be a format. I don't know that the format that they followed when I was 10, marching us into different rooms, boys to the left and girls to the right, and giving us a little pamphlet with like stick men that had like penises on them. That's what they gave us. I don't know if that was the best way to explain puberty to a 10-year-old. That was random. Sorry, I'm chasing an animal, trying to get it to stop chewing on something. Anyway, the important part of this conversation is not me snapping my hands at a random animal. The important thing is, this should be in our schools. This should be just as important as sexual education and orientation is gender. And it should be taught really at the beginning levels. Like when we teach children in kindergarten, boys go over here and girls go over there. At that level, you can explain that sometimes boys have girl thoughts and girls have boy thoughts. And it's different, but it's fine, and it's not hurting anybody. That should have been taught to me in kindergarten. But definitely when they started teaching me about puberty, they should have taught me about gender. Because I was old enough then to understand enough about what related to me. And if they, by the way, you can't make somebody transgendered, okay? If you introduce the concept of cisgender and transgender into our schools, it won't make anybody be transgender. But what it will do is it will help people who are transgender to come forward or to say, hey, that's me. Hey, Mom, I learned about this. Did you know I think that way? The sad thing is the mom will think that the education made the child think that way. No. They were already thinking that way. It was already happening. All we're doing is letting them know what those thoughts mean. Education should not be something to be afraid of. And it needs to be taught to children. Children need to know what this is. Because if you don't teach them, how are they going to know? There's no way I could have known this at the age of 10. Like, to know to express it, to know that it mattered, to know where this was leading. There's no way at 10 I could have possibly understood any of that. But I could have learned what my condition was. And I would have learned that I was probably the only one in my class, in my grade level even, who had those thoughts. But maybe not. But we'll never know, because I wasn't given the opportunity. Who knows? We might, if we started teaching this in schools at the kindergarten level and at the puberty level, we might find that there's a lot more people who have gender alternative thoughts than we realized. And it's just that we hid them. They hid because they didn't know it was safe to come out. So anyway, that's Darcy's Corner. That's my thought today. We need to teach this to children because trying to deal with this as an adult is just stupid. And there's so much that I've missed in life because I just didn't know until I was almost 40. That's dumb. Okay. Darcy's Corner out.